Okay, here are even more shots that involve water, and often, as you'll see, the colour blue. This is right at towards the beginning of the party scene. So Romeo has arrived and he feels all out of it and dizzy, and so he goes into the bathroom area. And this is just as he walks away from the sink, so he's like rinsed his face, and then as he walks away he chucks his mask into the sink of water. Okay, this is incredibly important symbolism. A mask has meanings to do with hiding your identity, pretending to be someone else, which is pretty obvious in this case because Romeo was dressed up for a costume party, so like duh. But also remember, he's drowning his mask in water. So just have a think about, what does that say to you about what Romeo's doing with his identity here? Of course, what happens immediately afterwards? He meets Juliet and they look at each other through that water, and they're both stripped of their identity. Okay, so this is really, really important. The fact that Baz Luhrmann even chose to do this shot and linger on the mask as it sinks down is incredibly important. This is not just a throwaway shot. This is something that would have taken hours to set up with the lighting and the shimmery blue and all of that. So it's very, very important here what he is saying about Romeo, his identity, his relationship to the water that he's just cleansed himself with. Not just literally, he hasn't just literally cleansed his face, but he's cleansed himself of his identity. Very, very important symbolism. And this is the shot that we see right before that. Don't you love it how I do things out of order? So he's what is it? No, sorry, my apologies. Look at the cuts on his face. What am I thinking? This is just after he jumps off of Juliet's balcony. So this is after he's killed Tybalt and after he spent the night with Juliet, and we see him jump down into the water. And remember, Juliet is standing up there looking down, and she makes the comment, remember that I told you was an example of foreshadowing, about, is it just me, or does that look like he's in some watery tomb? Obviously, that's not exactly what she says. I'm doing what we call paraphrasing. But remember, she like looks at him and thinks, oh, he kind of looks dead right now. And he looks like he's drowning. Is that telling me something that's going to happen in the future? And she's up above and he is down below, which has all sorts of connotations with heaven and hell. It's all very, very important. Okay, next image. Okay, this is, I'm so bad with out of order, I apologise. Okay, this is way back at the beginning of the film. Remember, after the petrol station fight, and Romeo's parents are concerned that he was involved and they want Benvolio to find him, and Benvolio's like, he's down at the beach scrawling all these romantic thoughts in his diary. So it's sunset, it's the evening, and Romeo is by the water contemplating his love for, remember, not Juliet, he hasn't met her yet, contemplating his love for Rosalind. So he's by this body of water. Remember how we talked about the gas station and it being like a concrete jungle, and it's hot and dry and hard, and the first time we meet Romeo, he's by the water, and a lot of important things happen down at the beach. Okay, so it's really, really, really important, the moments that Baz Luhrmann has chosen to set by the beach. It's incredibly important. So here, Romeo is pure, cleansed. He's not part of the violence. He's separate from all of that, which is good. Okay, next minute. Literally a few days later, here Romeo is killing Tybalt. And look at Tybalt. This is so, so important. Firstly, look at his posture. With his arms flung out like that, Baz Luhrmann is intentionally making references to Jesus being on the cross. Okay, so yes, we've been looking at Tybalt as an evil character, but also Tybalt's sacrifice and eventually Romeo and Juliet's sacrifice leads to the two families no longer fighting. So his sacrificial death, and Mercutio's, you could argue, is all very much referencing this sacrificial death of Jesus Christ. So think back to when Shakespeare is writing this. We're talking about 1600s, Elizabethan times. Christianity is now very, very important. Nobody would be coming out and saying in Elizabethan times, I am not a Christian. So these references are very intentional and very overt. And remember, Baz Luhrmann himself has put references to religion throughout, with characters wearing religious insignia, whether that be Jesus on Tybalt's costume or crosses around their necks, all that kind of thing. Okay, and of course, where do Romeo and Juliet take their own lives? In the tomb, inside a church. So all of this is very important. And of course, Tybalt is about to fall into water, which again, as we know from biblical references, is something that cleanses. So in Tybalt's death, he becomes cleansed of all of his sins. So this is all incredibly important stuff that you can be talking about in a character essay, but also any time that you can mention techniques. This is all symbolism, the camera shots above, like God looking down on them. All of this stuff is rife with techniques that you can discuss. Okay, I've just put this in there for your viewing pleasure so that you can see the opposite. In the previous tutorial we had Romeo's side, and now we see Juliet's side looking through the tank. And remember what I said about the lighting and how that blue wash is all very intentional, and of course the water. Oh, now I have to zoom out for you. Okay, this is one of the promotional posters, from Great Gatsby. Okay, again, Leonardo DiCaprio, so Baz Luhrmann obviously likes working with him, and it's really important to note that we have a blue background, the rain coming down, and the green light is actually a reference from the novel, so that's not Baz Luhrmann's touch, and the green light actually represents all sorts of different things. It's a very complicated symbol, but it's very important that Baz Luhrmann has chosen the rain to be coming down. This is this thing called pathetic fallacy, as in you are so pathetic, but different meaning, and fallacy. This is something I'll probably talk to you more about in class in detail, but it's when the weather communicates emotions. So think about all the times that it rains in Romeo and Juliet and the storm clouds come in when Mercutio is dying. That's all to do with the character's emotions, pathetic fallacy. And right here is another example of that pathetic fallacy. Leonardo's character, Gatsby, is a complex man who is prone to being very upset about the way his life is going. And so that's very purposeful that it is raining. Okay, and more references to water in this film, and I need to zoom in again. This is the way that Baz Luhrmann has chosen to portray Gatsby's swimming pool, which is even more extravagant than I imagined it in the novel. Gatsby's known for having these raucous parties, and here's his swimming pool in the middle of it. Again, notice how the pool is blue, this blue light emanating from it. And I won't ruin the end of the novel for you. Hopefully you'll read it one day, but the pool is a very important symbol in The Great Gatsby. And you can state that without having actually read the novel. You can talk in your essay about how Baz Luhrmann is drawn to moments where water and blue symbolize more than what they are. For example, Gatsby's pool in his film The Great Gatsby. So you don't have to explicitly state the relevance of it as long as you know that it is relevant. Okay, so that was very much a lot of talking about blue and water, but now you have a lot of examples.